So welcome to Momentum 2021. This is How to Thrive and Profit on the New Medium. And I am Thomas Smith. And I am the co-founder and CEO of Gatto Images. We're an AI-driven photography company. We're based in San Francisco. And I present and talk and speak and also write on Medium about photography, AI, and all kinds of other technology topics. I write for Debugger, 1.0, Better Marketing, and several other publications on the platform. And in my first year on Medium, which was last year, I had 12 million views on my articles. I also had the #3 most viewed Medium article in 2020. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what does well on Medium, studying what kind of articles do well, and talking about that, writing about that. You can visit my website. This is a separate blog, thriveonmedium.com, where I've gathered a lot of the articles that I've written about thriving on Medium, and especially about how to use the partner program to make money on Medium if that's your goal. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of those. And again, you have the chat open, so if you have questions, feel free to ask them, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end too. So let's take a look at some of the new concepts of the new medium. So what's the new medium? This is what I call the sort of changes to the platform that have happened over the last 6 months. So if you're a writer on Medium already, you've probably noticed that they've been rolling out a lot of new platform changes. And some of those can be scary if you're already established. Some of them can be just sort of jarring because they happen all of a sudden. But overall, I think if you figure out how to profit from them, how to take advantage of them, they're actually really good for writers overall. So I'm going to share a couple of those. One huge change, and we've seen this kind of drawn out in many different ways on the platform, is a move from a transactional platform to a relational one. So what does that mean? A transactional piece of content is something where somebody's coming to it usually to answer one discrete question or learn one discrete thing. So I think of YouTube as being very transactional. Maybe you want to know how to paint a wall or install a toilet or cook something specific. So you're going to go on YouTube, you search for that particular question, you find the answer to it, you watch the video, and you probably leave. And there are some people who are more relational on YouTube, but a lot of it is transactional. A lot of search is transactional too. And Medium was for a long time also. So most of the emphasis was on individual articles. You wrote something great, it got curated, it got shared out on the platform. People found it because it was on Medium. They might not know who you were, they probably didn't care who you were, and they were coming really just to read that one piece of content and then leave. So each of your articles was really this sort of one-off thing. And if it got curated, it probably did well. If it didn't get curated, it may not have done so well. And it was really about these discrete interactions. So I think Medium realized, especially early this year, that that wasn't a great long-term model as the platform continued to scale, because it was really kind of focused on highlighting these individual great pieces of content. And I think they realized that more and more what people want is not just individual discrete chunks of content. They want to develop a relationship over time with individual creators. We see that on Instagram a lot more, where you follow somebody and the following is very significant. And Ev Williams from Medium actually came out and said, followers really didn't matter on the platform up to this point, but going forward, they will matter a lot. And we've seen a lot of changes that have emphasized that on the platform. So moving from transactional, discrete content to relational, where Medium is really asking your readers to form a relationship with you as a creator. And that comes out in the way that they promote content. So we're seeing a lot less emphasis on curation, a lot more emphasis on following and connecting with the individual author or creator of content. We've seen this in the new profile page. So now your Medium profile page, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but it's a way to gather all of the content that you create and for people to almost sort of follow a stream of your content instead of finding it discreetly in their daily digest and that kind of thing. We've really just seen this move now from this transactional element to this more relational element. And again, that's carried through in a lot of different places on the platform. So what does that actually mean for creators? Really what you want to be doing instead of focusing on individual pieces of content is focusing on developing a relationship with your readers over time. Because again, Medium is going to use that to promote your content a lot more. So following you may not have cared about, now is the time to really start to actively build your following. And that can take a lot of forms. You can include a call to action at the end of your article, just asking people to follow you. You can follow others and try to get them to follow you back through that way. but really you want to be focusing on growing your following, because Medium is going to be doing a lot less promoting of individual articles, a lot more promoting of individual creators and driving people to see content from creators that they've already subscribed to. So if you already have a large following on Medium, great. Self-published articles are about to get a lot, and have already actually gotten a lot more effective on the platform, because if you have a large following, Medium will push your articles out much more aggressively than they did before to your following. So self-publishing has really taken off, and I've seen that for my own content. But if you're a new writer and you have a small following, there's another way around this, and that is to publish through a publication. Better Marketing is a great one. I also write for The Startup, Towards Data Science, several others. And what that allows you to accomplish is, because people can form a relationship not just with an individual creator, but also with a publication. If you publish on a good publication, Medium will be really aggressively promoting your articles to the followers of that publication in addition to your own followers. So it's a way, if you're just getting started, to kind of piggyback on a big following that somebody else has built around their publication. So look for publications, try to publish in more publications, and also try to grow your own following through, again, asking people to follow you and just creating a lot of content continuously so that people constantly see content coming in from you. And I think Tim Denning, who many of you might know on the platform, does a really great job of that. And I'll share some resources that go into more detail on going from the transactional to a relational model. I mentioned this a little bit, but also Medium is treating you as a publication on the new platform. So whereas before, if you went to somebody's profile, there wasn't much there. Now your profile displays almost like the landing page of a publication. And then you can customize a lot of things like your font, your header image. You can include more links to your other platforms, social media, and that kind of thing. And people can follow you directly from the top of your profile page. So if you haven't gone and edited your profile, definitely do that now. Again, I'll share an article with some resources for how best to do this, but try to include a custom header image. Make sure you have a really compelling author photo, something that captures who you are so that people can immediately see your own personal brand when they land on your page. And don't worry as much about curation when you're publishing content here. The profile page really creates an opportunity to publish a lot more and draw people into that page and get them to follow you. And over time, that grows your following. And again, with that transactional model, moving to the relational model, if you have a larger following, you're going to get a lot more viewership and a lot more revenue if you're interested in that from the articles you publish. So check out the new expanded profile pages that make you like a publication, and do your best to update header images, update your social links, and also to choose a really great author photo to include on there. Tying into that, again, major curation changes. So before, curation was the main function for sharing articles and sort of surfacing great content on Medium. And I think Medium realized, partially because of the growth that they've seen during COVID-19 in particular, they picked up 65,000 new writers in 2020. So there's a huge number of people publishing content on the platform. They really just couldn't review every piece of content to see if it was great. So we saw initially a move towards letting publication authors curate content. If you publish for a major publication, you may have seen that your content was immediately curated as soon as you published it in certain publications, and now a move away from curation in general and towards other ways to promote your articles. So curation still is one factor in content, but again, followers are much more significant. And if you go to your Medium landing page now, you'll see in the upper right this little grid of individual photos with new content that has come from either individual creators or from publications. And that's what your readers are seeing when they land on their Medium landing page. And again, that's a good reason to have a really good author photo because it will show up there. But if you're creating content and publishing it there, publishing it on the platform, you'll show up there and be flagged every time that you publish something new. So frequency of publication matters a lot. Try to push content out more frequently. I try to do 1 to 2 articles per day. And also worry less about curation and curation jail, which I think is people would worry about that a lot. If they publish a certain number of articles in a row that didn't get curated, they could end up kind of locked out of curation for a couple of weeks. With a new system, you don't have to worry about that as much. So it's important to publish a lot and not worry so much about whether each piece of content is exactly right for the platform. And also, I think it's very important to note, they made some changes to the platform now so that the actual CTAs and things that you include, they've sort of loosened up about that. So before, if you included a call to action like follow me, come to my blog, your content probably wouldn't be curated. That's been eliminated now. So as long as it's a tasteful, sort of reasonable number of CTAs, you can actually include those. So it's a lot easier to ask people to follow you or ask them to take some other action, subscribe to your newsletter, that kind of thing, than it was before. And obviously that's a really great change to the process there. There's a couple other ways that Medium is highlighting content. One of them is more on Medium or more from Medium. So at the end of an article now, you'll see other articles from the same creator or the same publication highlighted. And that's really great because if you publish a lot, and especially if you publish a lot of articles in the same publication, then when people read one of your articles and they like it, Medium is going to push them to your other articles, and especially to your other articles from that same publication. So again, that's a reason to publish a lot. It's a reason to stick with a few publications and really try to get a lot of content into them, because then if somebody reads an article they love from you, when they finish it, it's going to be pushing you over to another article, pushing them over to another article you've written, ideally in that same publication. So frequency of publication, really important, and don't worry so much about the specifics of what it takes to be curated, because there's these new ways like more on Medium that Medium is promoting your content. And also there are new ways that they're handling curation that are just a little bit less strict overall. One other thing I would say that's important to keep in mind, being featured on Medium is very significant. Even in the new platform. So content that's really great will often be featured, especially if you write for an in-house publication on the platform. And that will be elevated above sort of the noise of the other content that people are seeing and put on the homepage. And that can be a great way, even without curation being as significant, for your content to be found. And then the final thing I'll talk about, and then we'll go into the Q&A, is the new short form kind of post on Medium. So before, and this is a question I see asked here, time read is how you get paid. Should we just write long stuff then? I can certainly answer that in a little more detail later, but one answer is not necessarily. Short form posts are something that Medium has actually had for about 6 months or more, but they're starting to emphasize and talk about a lot more. A short form post is a post that is 150 words or less generally. It can be a bit longer, but if they're 150 words or less, that flags them as short form specifically. That's about 735 characters, so it's about 2 to 3 times longer than a tweet, but about the same sort of format as a tweet. So a very short, sort of quick piece of content that you share. And Medium is really starting to emphasize those. They can actually be curated sometimes. This is rarer, but before, anything under 3 minutes was almost never curated. So that's a shift that I've seen. Major publications have started to pick them up. And they're great because you can very quickly share something almost like you would share a tweet. And people can interact with it and clap for it and share it. And you can make money from writing that content too. As looks like Peyton there pointed out, it probably won't be much money because you are paid based on reading time. So if you have a very short piece, you're not going to pick up a ton of reading time. But what I've seen is that it takes so little time to create these short form posts in a lot of cases that it's sort of like tweeting and getting paid maybe 50 cents to $1 per tweet that you write. If you tweet a lot, it's probably a good source of revenue. It's also a great way to attract followers because, again, if you write something great, even if it's short, somebody comes to your profile page and then follows you, you've added them to your collection of followers and they'll see your long form content and in future posts. So it's a great way to pick up and build your following just as you would on a shorter form platform like Twitter. Another couple of things to keep in mind about short form pieces is that there's some sort of best practices of what to share on there. Medium encourages you to share a story from another creator, and you can link to them by putting a link to their piece in there and then pressing enter, and that will actually flag, it will create like a link to their piece within the platform. It'll also notify them when you publish your piece that you've mentioned them. And you can also do the @ sign and then type in their username and flag them. So it's a great way to highlight if you read something great from another creator and sort of pay it forward, make a short form post about it, share your thoughts about it in a few words, and then tag them, and they'll see that that's happened, and hopefully you'll drive some traffic their way in addition to having people come to you. And hopefully you'll actually, maybe they'll tweet you or something like that, and you'll pick up some followers from them also. Another 2 things that are helpful with short form, if you're a photographer like me, sharing photos on there is a great thing to do. You can put 1 photo in, a couple of comments about it, post it as a short form post. And also if you're a poet, this is a really great thing for poets who I think for a while had felt sort of de-emphasized in the new platform changes. Short form gives them a format to be able to share short poems, even haikus and that kind of thing, in one form of content that Medium is now officially recognizing and promoting. So if you haven't tried a short form post, it's super easy. Instead of putting in a title, just start typing, bold your first line. Make sure it's not a title. It'll default to being a title. Just make it a straight, piece of content or text. Bold it, type, put in your references if you want to, like referencing another author, photo, and go ahead and publish. And that will be a short form piece. So overall, I think some people are a little scared by these changes. Definitely requires some adjustment, but I think that if you learn to leverage them, you can still thrive on the platform. And particularly if you learn to use new kinds of content like short form, if you're willing to post a lot, again, 1 to 2 articles a day, even if one of them is short, then these new changes that move from transactional to relational will really reward you both in terms of following and in terms of money if you are in the Medium Partner Program. So I'm going to open it up now to any questions. I'm going to share some resources as well as I'm talking here. And I see there are a couple of questions already. Feel free to put questions into the chat and I can answer them here. One of them was, again, I mentioned it a little bit, time read is how you get paid. We just write long stuff. No, I think every piece should be the length that it should be. That kind of sounds like a cop-out. But I find if you write a piece that's longer than it should be, then people get frustrated and leave. If you write a piece that's shorter than it should be, if you write a short form piece that really should be long, then people might like it, but they're probably going to want more. And sometimes I've written short form pieces that people have liked so much that I've expanded it into a longer form piece. So I think, time read is definitely significant. But if you write a great piece that's 4 minutes long and a ton of people see it, and it gets a really high read ratio because people are engaged by it, Medium's more likely to promote it out to a broader audience. People are more likely to share it if it's not full of sort of fluff and filler, and you end up probably getting more reading time overall. So I've profited a lot on things that are very, very short, and I've profited on things that are 22-minute reads. I think Peyton, you pointed out my best piece was 4 minutes. 3,200 so far. Long pieces don't make much at all. I think that's a great point. It should be the length that it should be. Let's see, I've published in a few Medium pubs, mainly mid-size, but I have little luck getting into the larger ones, especially Medium's own publications, Gen, Forge, etc. Should I give up or keep trying? I think definitely keep trying with those larger publications. It can take a long time to get into in-house publications on Medium. I know when I first started, I kind of took off with some early articles on startup on Medium and on better marketing, and it still took me several months of pitches to get into the house publications on Medium. And once you do, you can develop really great relationships with Medium and with individual editors over time that can be really wonderful and really productive. So I definitely would recommend, sticking with that. One thing that's helpful, I think, is reach out to other writers, share your pieces, especially people who do publish in the publications you're targeting, and ask for their feedback. I've had people do that and ask me, and I'm able often to tell them, this is what's wrong. This is why you're probably not getting into a publication. If you want to send me something, feel free to. You can tweet things at me at TomSmith585. My email's there, tom@gotoimages.com. Happy to have a look. Gen and Forge, business-oriented publication and sort of culture-oriented publication. Those can probably be harder to get into. There's probably more competition for those. But it depends on what your area of expertise is. I tend to write about technology, so I'm in Debugger, I'm in Elemental sometimes, I'm in 1.0, and there's some others that you may not notice as much. If you write about food, Heated is a great one to take a look at. The biggest advantage, I think, of in-house publication, aside from the kind of broad reach, is that you're getting a lot of hands-on interaction with Medium's team. You're getting professional editing of your pieces, and that can really help a lot over time. So yeah, stick with it. Took months for me to get into any of them. Pitch consistently. Don't expect a response. Oftentimes the editors of the publications are super busy, so you might not get a response. Keep publishing on the platform, even if you're self-publishing. I think the biggest thing is just to build a following. If people see that, they're more likely to accept your pieces into big publications. But yeah, definitely stick with it. What do I feel off the back? Been writing on my own blog about fear for my personal enjoyment, and now I've got a small but dedicated following. Should I be switching over to Medium? You don't have to switch. That's one of the great things about Medium, is that you can repost content from another platform onto Medium, and they're totally fine with that. And they'll even set it up as what's called a canonical link, so it won't hurt the SEO for your own blog if you repost content to Medium. The best way to get started with that is create a Medium profile, go to New Story, and there's an option to import a story, and you can copy and paste the link to your blog into there, to the story on your blog, and it'll actually pull it into the Medium platform. You can make some updates and edits, and then you can publish it there. See how it does. And again, it shouldn't hurt your SEO, because they will put in what's called a canonical link that tells the search engine that your blog is sort of the main place that content lives. And if anything, it'll probably drive viewers over to your blog, because they will see a link at the bottom of the article and be able to follow that back to you. If you find over time that you get more traffic on Medium, yeah, maybe you'll want to totally switch over there. Let's see, Ian asks, is there much of a market on Medium for science and medicine-based posts written for a lay audience by scientists or clinicians? Yes, definitely. The post that was number 3 for the whole year for Medium that I wrote got probably over 11 million views on the platform. So that was a big chunk of my 12 million plus views in the first year. Was a scientific article I wrote about COVID. And that was in Elemental, the science publication, in-house publication for Medium. So yeah, it does do very well. I've also written about Elon Musk's Neuralink. I've written about a lot of other science and medicine topics. I would say after technology, it's probably one of the top topics on the platform. Make sure to cite everything. Medium is very, very strict, rightfully so, about your citations. So make sure to cite everything that you're writing about. And there's a great article. I don't have the link immediately in front of me, but there's a great article from Elemental. I think it's Alexandra Sifferlin. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly, about how to write science writing on the platform. She did really great research and gathered all that together. I'll try to find that if I can and put it in here. Or I'll tweet it out afterwards. You can follow me at TomSmith585 on Twitter, and I'll tweet out some of these resources. That's a great post about how to do science writing well on the platform, and you might want to take a look at that. But yeah, it does tend to do very well. Christina wrote, I've been on Medium for 2 years and my income seems to be at a plateau. Advice for breaking through my ceiling. I have nearly 4,000 followers, but I feel I should be earning more than I am. Yeah, I think that's a great question. Are you still publishing the same volume of content? I think is a big question. I think a lot of the time, if you start to feel like things are tapering, you might start to publish less, and that will probably cause that process to just accelerate. So make sure that you are publishing as much content as you can on the platform, and try not to let that kind of taper off over time. So that's one question: is are you continuing to publish as much? I think breaking through the ceiling, one thing I would say is if you're not kind of promoting your content off of Medium, I think that's something that can cause you to hit a plateau. And there's a temptation, I think, because Medium does a really good, and publishing daily puts me in a plateau. If I slow it down, it drops about $50. Yeah, if you reach a point where you've sort of maxed out the followers that are interested in your topic area on Medium, then you can end up at a plateau where there's not that many new Medium subscribers or existing subscribers who will find you, or Medium has already sort of pushed out your content to all the people it thinks will be interested. You kind of have to show its algorithm there's new people that might be interested. So if you're not promoting off the platform, or if you're doing the same kinds of promotions off the platform, I would try to switch that up. So if you can do, Twitter, I find posting to certain posts to Facebook groups that are interested in the topic can be really successful. You can get thousands of views out of that. I publish content about film photography, and if I post to film photographers groups, then I can end up with a ton of content coming out of that. If I, post even on Nextdoor, if it's a local news story or something that's relevant. I'm in the Bay Area, so I'll post things that are local on there. I'll do Facebook ads. If it's my own story, sometimes I'll do a Facebook ad and I'll spend $20 to promote the story to people who are interested in the topic I'm writing about. And that brings in, all of those things bring in new people who may not have known about your content or seen it before. And all of them may not necessarily be Medium subscribers, but over time, you can end up with that building a following. People might actually join Medium, in which case you get paid for their reading time even after they've read your story. If they subscribe later, you still get paid for that time. So you're basically bringing in a new audience to the platform, and it also may clue Medium in to kinds of subscribers that their algorithm may not have known would be interested in your content. So maybe if you're never publishing about a particular topic and you start to, then they'll see that and they'll start to push new people who care about that topic over to your content on the platform. So you said you just started using Hootsuite. That's great. Yeah, trying to push out your links to different social media. New topics is a great idea. I think that's always, if you've hit a plateau, again, there may just be only a certain number of Medium members that care about your specific topic. So try to find a way to expand it or write about something new. And try different formats too. If you've not done any short form posts, try that out. Everybody, I think, should try that out and just see how it works for them. But definitely try to make that switch too, and switch up your format. Let's see, I see another question here. Or a response. It looks like Elemental is a medium-owned publication, ton of traffic for that subject. And this was about the science and medicine. Let's see, I never read them, they're easy to read. Yeah, I think, if you're trying to write for an in-house publication and you write in the science and medicine topic, I would definitely recommend Elemental. I think you can just email elemental@medium.com and pitch stories there. But do expect that you're going to have to do a lot of citations because, anything against science and medicine oriented has to be really well backed up. Question here about the SEO and evergreen articles. Do those perform better? I think, it depends on what your goal is on Medium. So if you're trying to make money from Medium, if you're in the partner program and that's your main goal, to make money on the platform, then probably SEO is not going to be as significant for you. And that's because most people who find your posts via SEO are not going to be Medium subscribers. They're just somebody who searched on Google and found you, and you only get paid for reading time from Medium members. So probably not as significant if that's your goal. If your goal is to promote your business, to promote yourself as a thought leader, to build a social following, or just to share your work, yes, certain kinds of posts can do really well from an SEO perspective. Let me try to share a resource here. It's not able to get links in there before, but let me see if I can share this. I wrote an article on better marketing about specifically these questions about how to promote your articles and how Medium will promote your articles. One way is through SEO. And, I think with SEO, depends on the kind of topic that you're writing about. I write a lot of topics, a lot of articles about home automation and sort of electronics topics and reviews. That does really well with SEO because people will search for, review of whatever the product is. Those can get thousands of views from search over time. But I think the issue is that if you're trying to make money on the platform, most of those viewers probably won't be members and you won't get a lot of revenue from it. So just think about what your goals are. Obviously, it never hurts to have more followers coming in. Some of them will be members. So if you write content that does well in SEO, that's always a benefit. Don't expect that to happen for about 4 to 6 months after a story is online, though. It takes time. The only exception is if you write something about a breaking news story. I've seen a lot of, especially 1.0 and debugger articles get picked up by Flipboard or by Google News, and you'll see a lot of traffic come in from that, from SEO. Derek said, I find virality of the topic to be the #1, as Tom said, is top poster on things like coronavirus and Musk's Neuralink. Big brands. Yeah, I think, it depends on what you're writing about. Certainly writing about a brand can help. It's not a guarantee that you're going to end up with a lot of traffic. I've written about some big brands, including Neuralink, with articles that haven't done well at all. And I've written things that have nothing to do with a brand. I just wrote an article about brain science and Pirates eye patches that has received about 18,000 views so far. Wouldn't think that would be a very hot trending topic, but turns out it is. So you can find, I think, hits with any kind of topic. It's more about how much value or interest you create for the reader. But certainly if you can write a really compelling article about a brand or a trending or breaking topic, then that can be a benefit. And certainly if you're writing for in-house publications on Medium, that can help a lot. Most of them, like most large publications, have an editorial calendar and coverage they're planning about upcoming news topics. So if you can tie into that and find a good hook in the current events or in the news, or an announcement, then that's a great way to create something that's timely and relevant for an in-house publication. Derek also said he's noticed 0 changes towards the new relational medium on the homepage. One major change, I would say, Derek, is the grid of images of publications and authors on the upper right on the homepage that pulls out and highlights people who have recently published a story. And that's a big change because it's taking the publications of people you follow and calling them out every single time that they publish something new. That's a big benefit if you publish content frequently, because you're going to sort of stack up in people's little feed at the top there. And that can be really good for promoting your content over time. The other change I would say is scroll to the end of an article, particularly when you've published in a publication, and you'll see the More on Medium feature. You don't have that on yours. That's interesting. Let me see if I can pull up on the Medium homepage, and I'll pull that over to the other screen. You can see if maybe, I'm not sure if you have an older browser or there's some other reason that you're not getting that, but let me see if I can pull this over. No, I don't think my browser's going to let me do it. Yeah, I'm not sure why you're not seeing that, but that's something a lot of readers see on Medium on the homepage. Is that grid, and at the end of a story, you'll see the More on Medium feature. Oh, it's still not rolled out entirely. Yeah, that's certainly possible. Oh, and mobile, yeah. So there's not a lot of changes on mobile. That's certainly true. The app does, for certain users, though, have that feature, the grid. So it may be that you are in some kind of A/B testing group that hasn't gotten the new features yet. Often platforms roll them out over time to test how they do, so it probably will be coming. But a lot of your readers probably do have these new features already, so it is something definitely to be aware of. It's also important to remember it's not just on the homepage that you're going to see this, it's also behind the scenes, the move towards relational. And so that's in what kind of content Medium promotes and how they promote it. So you're going to end up with a lot more of your content promoted to your followers through the algorithm, showing up in their daily digests, showing up when they land on the homepage. It's going to be pulling out a lot more content from people that are following you versus just content that's been curated. So you may not notice it or see it, but Medium is using that to feed the algorithm to decide what people see. And that's another reason why followers, either your own or a publication's followers, are really significant. Let me see here. I wonder if Medium selects SEO articles for distribution. Their bottom line is to bring in as many new subscribers as possible. Yeah, it's certainly possible. I think sharing content on other platforms is a great way to bring in people who may not be Medium subscribers and may want to become Medium subscribers and paid subscribers. So I think that's definitely something that they're probably focused on. The new changes were also, there were some internal changes that make it easier for their team to tweak the homepage, to make changes to formats and that kind of thing. That probably makes it easier for them to respond to new changes in the SEO world. So they probably will be doing better SEO and trying to build that over time. And again, I think a big piece of it is just the fact that when they had a smaller readership and a smaller number of writers, they could individually review every single piece and decide if it should be curated. And just as the readership and the number of creators has grown dramatically, they're probably seeing that they can't scale that infinitely. So content's going to be missed, and we saw issues where it could take weeks for a new writer's first piece to be reviewed. So I think they're moving away from curation in part just because the platform has grown substantially, and so they want to find other ways to push out content versus the curation functions. Feel free, again, there's going to stick around here for another couple of minutes, and feel free to ask any questions you have in the chat. You can also follow me at TomSmith585 on Twitter, on Medium, at /@TomSmith585. And you can also email me if you have specific questions, tom@gattoimages.com. Let's see what else we've got here in the chat. Yeah, I think viral articles, definitely important. Articles that end up on SEO and search engines, definitely important. I think, yeah, the point here from, I think, from Derek about just that good content is going to surface in both places. That's very significant. I think you definitely do want to emphasize the quality of content, because something that's good will surface on the platform. I've found either through the articles that get curated, or through SEO, or just through people finding it and sharing it. So a good example was that sort of weird article about brain science and pirates. I self-published that. It wasn't in a publication. And it's just started out with almost no following at all. And in a couple of days, it started to sort of build upon itself, and people shared it, and people posted about how sort of interesting and weird it was on Twitter. And then other people came in. And again, over time, it's up to, I think, about 18,000 views on the platform. So even something that you write that's really strange and not SEO optimized, and not in a publication, and sort of breaks all the rules, if it's good and compelling, which I feel that one was, you can end up with a good following on there. Feel free to ask any more questions that people have here. I'm not able, for some reason, to put resources into the chat here. So instead, I'm going to put them on Twitter after I'm done. So again, follow me. I've got my Twitter here at TomSmith585. Thanks for doing that, Christina. And I'll tweet out some of these different articles that I talked about here, where I've shared these other resources. You can also go to I have a separate blog that sort of reposts some of the articles that are specifically about Medium and thriving on Medium. It's thriveonmedium.com. And you can check those out too, to get sort of a feed of my Medium related articles. Any other questions that people have, please go ahead and post them now in the chat. I'm happy to answer anything about your content, about short form, about any other kinds of things on the platform there. Otherwise, thank you so much for attending. Enjoy the rest of Momentum 2021. And feel free to reach out to me personally if you have any other questions. And again, follow me or just visit me on Twitter, and I will share out some of these resources as soon as we're done here. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining today.